If there's an issue here in the West that strikes an emotional chord with ranchers, sportsmen, the environmental community, and certainly countless others, it's sage grouse. But I can honestly say there's a cooperative effort underway to keep this species off of the endangered species list. During a recent working group meeting in Billings, Montana, hosted by the BLM, a rather diverse group of stakeholders met to share information about future management plans that involve the greater sage grouse. Of course, last fall, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service determined that protection for the species under the Endangered Species Act was no longer warranted and withdrew the greater sage grouse from the candidate species list. This was music to the ears of many, but especially ranchers.
It seemed like it was overblown, and it was an agenda being pushed early on years ago when this thing first came up. It seemed like they've kind of backed off, and maybe it's heading in a decent direction. It's frustrating that this stuff's always getting pushed from somewhere else, and us on the ground here have to put up with those issues that come along with it. The meeting today seemed like it was kind of a bridge to try to see if we can get on the same page, and it was probably beneficial for that.
David Chadwick represented the Montana Wildlife Federation at the meeting and gives a lot of credit to keeping the greater sage grouse off of the endangered species list to ranchers.
My organization, and I think most Montana hunters and anglers and conservationists and Montanans in general, think that if agriculture is done right, it's good for fish and wildlife and good for our outdoor heritage. And I think if we can find ways to work together, healthy rangeland is good for livestock and wildlife. And I think that's really at the heart of this multi-state collaborative sagebrush conservation effort is how do we ensure that the land is healthy enough that we can keep working ranchers on the land and also conserve the full array of wildlife that lives on that landscape.
Aidan Seidlitz is the acting state director of the Montana and Dakota's state office of the BLM. He says the BLM's sage grouse management plan anticipates ongoing relationships with their cooperators and partners in designing and implementing greater sage grouse conservation actions.
And so we're focused on those areas to try and protect them as best we can from disturbance and predators, that sort of thing. So that's the goal, is to take a look at that. And then for general, of course, we don't want to do anything to change the landscape too much because we need that sagebrush and that. So that, as a general overview, that's it. So how we go about leasing for oil and gas, and talk about crop conversion or that sort of thing. We want to work together with private landowners and the state and just try and take a comprehensive approach to this so that we can be successful to keep populations up. So hopefully we can keep this collaborative spirit alive and well and keep the sage grouse off of the endangered species list and keep multiple use activities like ranching, hunting, fishing, and of course, oil and gas development alive and well as we move into the future. Reporting from Billings, Montana, I'm Russell Nemitz.